Hi, I'm Jenna Kernan, and I write historicals, and I also write for the Nocturne line, Paranormals. I've been writing some bites, and I have a new series called The Trackers. The Trackers series started with an unusual hero. He's a shape-shifting grizzly bear, and my Trackers series is based on Lakota myth, loosely based on a kind of mythology that perhaps the readers aren't as familiar with, but it's really fascinating. They have ghosts and witches, and they have shapeshifters, which are called skinwalkers, but they basically are creatures that change from human form to animal form, but not just wolves. So my first hero is a shape-shifting grizzly bear. His name's Sebastian, and he goes from a man to a 1,400-pound grizzly that's about 9 feet tall. Most of my books are set in kind of out-of-the-way places, and the natural world figures in most of my stories. So he has to decide he really should leave her to die, but he just feels he can't do that, of course, because he's going to be the hero. So he takes care of her and rescues her from what's called a spirit wound, and the spirit wound from Nagi is the name of the ruler of ghosts. Opens up this whole power for her that she has, and you find out in that book why Nagi is after her, which is very interesting. The second book, Nagi is still trying to get to her, but he's lost her because Sebastian's done a great job. He's a very protective hero, and he's done a great job making her disappear. And she's a healer, and now she has the same sort of decision Sebastian had, which is, I really should kill him. He's from the enemy race. She's a halfling. He's a skinwalker, and she's a spirit child, and all the spirit childs have powers to protect man, and the skinwalkers have the obligation to protect nature. And they're not always the same goal, so she has the same sort of decision. Well, I'm just fascinated with Native American culture, and I have read everything I can read and gone to every website I can go to, and I've visited several different places out west that inspire me. And just trying to be in wild places and meeting as many Native people as I can. I traveled up to Alaska. We were up there and spoke to some people there about their myths. Also, there are 2 fabulous museums that are very helpful. One's right here in New York, where we're filming today. It's down in what used to be the Customs House at the tip of the island past Wall Street, the Native American Museum. And there's also one in Washington, and I'm a very frequent visitor of both of those. In fact, I live there. I think my heroes are a little bit unique because they're not traditional. I started in Westerns. My first story was Winter Woman, and I remember being introduced around the office at Harlequin, and when my editor took me around, she said something that I hadn't considered. She said, "This is Jenna Kernan. She just wrote a Western with no cowboy." And I didn't think about it, but my first hero was a trapper, and he was there way, 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 way before the cowboys. And my next one was a tracker and a cartographer. So I think my Westerns and my Native American stories, the hero is just a little bit more unusual, not a traditional hero. But I did just write a cowboy, my first cowboy, after 10 books. I love writing Westerns. I've always loved reading Westerns, and I think I have a nice Western voice. And when I decided I'd also like to write paranormals, there was some concern among other people, not me, of whether or not I'd have a contemporary voice. And I never really thought about it. I'm writing the 2 areas that I love to read. And that's why I'm writing them, because I love them. And I'm very happy that my paranormal voice and my contemporary voice is being well received, because I really want to continue to write paranormal as well. The best piece of advice I could give to an aspiring author is persistence, and to realize that it takes time to hone your craft. I needed to join organizations, writing organizations, meet with other writers, and learn the skills that I needed to be able to tell a good story. So persistence and time. I have a very busy year this year, so I have an August release. It's a Bites, and it's called First Heat. And if you're not familiar with Bites, they're very short, sexy reads, and this is the first story I've ever set in an urban setting. Almost all of my books are set in very wild places. So this one's set in New York City.